Thank you as always to those of you who are supporting the channel on Patreon, including the big patrons of the month, the Nerd Therapist, and Jack the Loudred. Thank you. Hey Pokemon Masters, Berkeeper Toby here, and welcome back to the Tree of Evolutionary Life. Back so soon? Well, what can I say? There have been reports of new Pokemon all over the Galar region, and some of today's are very, very interesting. Today, I have just 3 for you. 3 new Pokemon, one of which was kind of hidden in the Nintendo Direct, and 2 of which were in the E3 demo that people have been playing and images have been coming to us. So this is going to be a relatively short episode of the Evolutionary Tree, but there's still interesting things here. So I'm going to start with the 2 from the demo. We've got our new Corgi Pokemon, Yamper. I'm saying its name for the first time, Yamper. It's a Corgi. It's a Corgi. I mean, this is what people wanted. It's a Corgi with a little lightning bolt on its tail, and if that looks familiar to you, it absolutely should. I mentioned it in a previous evolution video where it was a Pokemon that appears on the side of one of the stadiums, and people are like, what's that Pokemon? Well, now you know, it's Yamper. You see the little thunderbolt tail. I imagined it to be much faster. I was thinking more like Manectric. I'm guessing it's not as fast as that electric dog. And this puppy, I'm guessing, is actually the final evolution. I know you might think that's kind of a wild thing, but I think it's just so gimmicky. I just can't imagine it evolving into anything else. Its design is pretty solid. That said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll have a bigger evolution very, very soon. But a lot of people wanted a Corgi Pokemon. Here it is. Yamper. And of course, where does this fit on the evolutionary tree? Well, yes, in with the other dogs, obviously. But if you want to get a little bit more specific, I would guess that it's somewhere in with the Granbull Slurpuffs. Yeah, Slurpuff actually turns out is a dog, it's like a pug. Stoutland or Furfrou, these dogs are domesticated dogs. As in, they're not wild, feral pack dogs like you would have like a Lycanroc, for example. Lycanroc presumably not being kept in somebody's own home. This Pokemon, Yamper, absolutely is, and if it's closely related to any of them, it's the domesticated pups. Moving on, Pokemon number 2, Impidimp? Yeah, Impidimp, I presume I'm pronouncing that correct. What a weird looking Pokemon, and definitely not a final evolution. Not my favorite thus far this generation, and evolutionary speaking, it's very confusing. Okay, I mean, there's so many ways you could go with this. Imps in English folklore are, well, they're kind of like fairies, and actually you can tell this Pokemon is a dark fairy. It's like the flip side. Evolutionary speaking, we in the real world don't have an exact example to that. And it really does depend on what it evolves into. If it evolves into some big, like, imp gargoyle dragon thing, then maybe it's in with the dragons. It's most likely not a mammal or any kind of fish. I don't think it's a ghost. I don't think I would put it in that realm. It could be extraterrestrial. That is possible, but I think a more likely place is to put it in with the sprites. The sprites are my way of explaining Pokemon like Gardevoir, like Mawile. These humanoid fairy Pokemon that have evolved from more plant-like Pokemon that have evolved eventually from Cradily. I mentioned that in the last episode actually, and if you want to see all the other new Pokemon that have been announced so far, this is the video where you can see that. It's linked in the description. And my guess, based on the way it looks, I could really imagine this Pokemon being related to like Pawniard and Bisharp, to Gallade, to Mawile. This is where a lot of those pixie Pokemon go, and this Pokemon certainly is. Well, it's part fairy type. For me, this is the most likely place that this Pokemon sits, but it really could evolve into anything, and I base this series based off of the final evolution, so it could change, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments, because again, it is such a weird one, it is so complicated. And finally, we have the Squirrel Pokemon, still unnamed. It has been spotted in the Galar region. And you might immediately think, Squirrel, we'll place it right next to Pachirisu. I'ma say no. And that is because Pachirisu is the Pikachu clone of Generation 4, and I've taken some creative liberties with this series. Evolutionarily speaking, yes, a squirrel would be related to another squirrel. Of course it would. In the world of Pokemon, though, I try and prioritize the lore over the actual evolutionary structure, so we can have an evolutionary tree that actually feels like it fits into the world of Pokemon. For that reason, Arceus fits into the lore of being a godlike Pokemon rather than being, you know, a horse that's related to Rapidash. And when it comes to Pachirisu being a Pikachu clone with all of them being rodents, I suspect that those rodents are more closely related than they are to other rodents. So while absolutely our new squirrel friend would belong in Rodentia, and I'm sure it's not the final evolution, I'm sure it's a pre-evolution, whatever it evolves into based in the Pokemon world might be closer related to the Raticates and the Bibarels and the Mincinos. Is it Chincinos? Can't pronounce that Pokemon's name. It might be closer related to the other rodents than it is the Pikachu rodents, as they seem to share a more close set of genes. That said, if you're talking about our world, then yes, Pachirisu, absolutely its closest living relative. That said, these are just my thoughts on the evolutionary tree thus far. I'm sure there'll be more reports of Pokemon in the Galar region. Let me know your thoughts about this, because I'm looking towards, at the end of the year, creating a complete, structured, full evolutionary tree. And I want to hear if you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, especially what do you think about Impidimp. And of course, So hi, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!